know if your Astros got any games with the Mets coming up? I know the Mets just played the A's. I need some help. Yeah, the Mets just played the Athletics this weekend. Oh man, this is so confusing. Second, all three districts are present. Item 1 is to approve our minutes of September the 12th.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ready. Item 2 is an update on HVAC issues on the 9th floor of the courthouse and possible options, including the replacement for the current system. Mr. Monroe.
We still have the issues. We've got a couple compressors down. Repair estimates are $24,000. We need to move forward because we've spent as much money as we can possibly spend legally with Metropolitan this year, right? So we either need to go out to bid for replacement of the system, a different type of system like I talked about before, using chilled water fan coil units. At the time we discussed this last, I had enough technical staff to begin doing this little by little. We've since lost the technical expertise, and I don't know that we're going to be able to hire in-house people of that caliber. So that would be something we would have to go out to bid and hire done. So no good news, I'm sorry.
If I understood correctly, we need to go out to bid to do something.
Need to decide what that something is.
Why couldn't we go out to bid on both somethings and make a determination after that?
That's a better plan.
You guys have any input?
So you and I spoke last week about reaching out to the geothermal people because we get a 40% rebate.
That was for commercial. I don't know if that applies to.
So have we reached out to them?
Not yet.
Okay. So it sounds like 3-track. Just so you guys are aware, there was a meeting I was at. They were talking about geothermal, and I actually brought these buildings up and about bringing that. You know, we've discussed bringing the steam and chill back on site. This would be a way to do it. And currently, there's 40%. I shouldn't say rebate. They give us 40% of the money from the feds to do it. It's part of the new green energy thing. But the geothermal, in a brief discussion with him, he was familiar with the buildings and believes that we've got more than enough room to tap the wells that would be required in order to do it. Now, that's just a preliminary deal. It's something I asked Keith to look into that could solve HVAC and heat issues across the entire complex here, and our vicinity issue.
Maybe.
Yeah.
The geothermal, the way that whole business works is it taps in this case, it would tap the water table to use to reject heat of compression for chillers and also absorb the 55-degree heat source to be utilized and supplemented with other heat generating equipment. OG&E in the past has had incentives. They started this long ago, and I installed some for residential and commercial purposes. At that time, the reliability was questionable. It was all new, and I'm sure things have improved since then, but that's one track, and we can explore that.
Motion to receive report. And to instruct staff to proceed as discussed. Okay.
Is there a second? Motion, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, item three, is discussing possible action regarding the placement of two compressors on the ninth floor, at a cost of $24,195.
I was talking with Chantel last week about this, and this is something we need to go out to bid for. There are only 4 qualified installers in the region to do this kind of work. The original subcontractor that installed this was not. So we want to make sure that we include those people who are qualified and capable of making this installation.
And there's nothing on a state or national contract that we can tap to do this type of work.
So because you're going in to do the work, that's not on the table.
Sorry. I went to a concert over the weekend and I can still barely hear.
Yes, that's all right.
Choice.
Buying material may be available, but having to hire out the work to do the work on site is not what's on state or national contract. Hiring a United Mechanical, Harrison, I think is another one, Metropolitan, they're not on any sort of contracts to do the work.
Okay, so no one that we would potentially buy the parts off of to repair these also does labor.
That is correct.
Okay. And so we need to go out to bid before we actually know if 24,195 is right.
These two compressors alone are below your bid limit. The 24, this one quote is below your bid limit. What is being discussed is whether this one repair is going to have a domino effect or not, which you have to take into consideration as those numbers may change over time and what you may be bidding out at the same time. So this is something, when you mentioned going to bid for 3 different paths or working with Keith in that manner, this would be taken into consideration for that.
With the temperatures cooperating, I'm hoping we won't have near the problems that we've had up there. And if we have to shut parts of the system down, we can do so. Currently, we've been using portable air conditioning systems to condition the space for the witness center upstairs, and that's been working out fairly well. It's cool enough at night that we have a bit of a flywheel effect, and those machines are more effective. So I think we've got perhaps some time here. We're moving in close to 100 on this system since it's been installed, and that shouldn't be the case. There are either design flaws, there are installation flaws. We don't know which or how many, but the reliability just isn't there, as you know, and I'm completely disappointed with the outcome.
What's your pleasure, fellas?
I don't think we have the answer that we need yet. It sounds to me like part of it's gonna be part of the 3-step process, and we don't know whether or not it's gonna break our threshold once we attach labor and everything to it, so. I don't know that there's any action that can be taken at this point. That's just my opinion.
So I make that a motion to receive the information.
Sure.
Motion is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Four is an update on our courthouse elevator.
Congratulations, you're still standing. No judges have murdered you yet. As loud as that is over there.
Move to receive these
You guys
documents
are
from Chris.
so loud over there.
I'll second on receipt. All in favor?
Aye. Yes, it was. Thank you for picking up on that nuance, Joe.
went over to see this. It looks great. I mean, it's loud. It's definitely construction. It definitely nice. It's understanding. How about that?
Thank you, sir. But wait, there's more.
Yeah. Before you answer,
Thank you.
For just one time.
Thank you, Chris.
So, yes, I'm showing you all these pictures so you can track what I'm talking about. The first two pictures that you see are safeties. Last time I was here, I talked about how the new elevators are going to run much. These two. These are your safeties. And but the first picture is your new safeties. The second picture is your tail sheaves for the safeties. This is going to make everything run much smoother and much safer. They've completed that. We finally got to the part of the project that they can start seeing something. They see a new door, so people are a little bit happier. That's like every project. They get impatient when they don't see anything, and when they finally start seeing something, they get much happier. So we're there now. The last two is the back of the door. This is what the old back of the door looked like. This is what the new door looked like. They expect to be completed with the first elevator a month to a month and a half. They've already got the second elevator in their connex. They're getting all the parts ready to start on the second elevator. So within a month and a half, they'll be on the second elevator.
so occupants of the building will be using the new elevator in November.
Should be, yes.
Right.
That's their timeline.
And that's in keeping with their timeline, or actually a little ahead. Or
They're,
2 months behind.
yeah,
2 months behind.
they're a little bit behind.
And they're 2 months behind because of supply issues, our issues.
Mainly personnel, available personnel, vacation times, days off, that kind of thing. The deliveries,
Did the contract have penalties for not meeting the specified dates?
I don't recall penalties, no, nor incentives. Keep in mind that Kone is the only elevator company that will do business with us.
The companies that are the only ones that want to do business with us, like the possibility they get rewarded for an early contract completion. So is now a good time to mention that we should consider that in all of our contracts?
It probably is, yeah. I don't know what kind of an expectation you might have given circumstances today.
Keith, is American Elevator still in business?
I believe so, but I'm not quite sure.
Okay, well, thank you, Keith. Thanks, Chris. Go
Thank
ahead.
you.
Sorry.
Move to receive report.
Second.
All in favor?
Right.
Aye.
Aye.
Keith, do you have anything on vicinity or? Okay, unless you guys have questions, I go no action there. 6 is discussion possible action regarding an update on our capital projects specific to the TIF 2. Stacy?
Working with the designers to get this project ready to go out to bid. There'll be a change order on Monday for the front entrance project to get that one advanced and finished up. And we're still negotiating with the consultant a fee for the moving of the books, getting that space prepared.
Any questions?
Remind me on the books, who is moving those?
The county clerk's moving the books, but I got to prepare the spaces, so I have to have the spaces designed because they're over the cost threshold.
And then what's the funding source for that? We're using preservation funds to preserve the book, or
just to move them. We've asked remember the project was funded by ARTMA. That was approved by everyone, but you asked me to go back and put all the costs that are associated with that. I think the statement was, if not for the front entrance, we wouldn't have to move these books and all this stuff. So
Right.
all the associated projects, the domino projects, like moving Chantel and so forth, the consultant now has that new number, and I guess we'll probably bring it to the policy and governance next time to try to increase the approved amount for that project, so we can do all these other projects.
Do we know what the timeline is on that?
The third floor space is already being worked on by Chris and his group, putting together the plan for the asbestos. It's not done yet, but they're working on it. I anticipate that the designer will be starting in October. And then by the time we get it designed, bid, and built, probably looking at about May to move Chantel.
Chantel's project is currently funded, is that correct?
No?
I thought
You did. This group here funded it, but then it became defunded when we had to do the emergency fire alarm over at the courthouse. The money was shifted.
But that's part of the domino, is what the ARPA request, right?
Yeah.
If not for that, they would be able to stay. But since they're not able to stay because of the ARPA, we're having to move.
see what happens when I have COVID.
There's money,
Certainly wouldn't have been.
when the money was transferred to take care of this project over here, it left a deficiency in that, in the capital account.
You want to come up here?
Yeah.
So you could.
So based on the emergency, the money was allocated so that Keith could encumber for the fire control over there. When budget board passed the September supplement, that supplement included an additional $300,000 to go into the capital account line item as needed for this group to utilize for this fiscal year. So that money will be in that account to be able to pay for that if you still choose to use that account to pay for that project, that money will be in there to handle that.
So it has been replaced.
Chantel's project is still funded, and we
What
can
date
start,
will that
and
happen?
rather than waiting on whether or not we can use ARPA funds.
What date will that money be where you can cut a purchase order against it?
You'll need to contact the clerk's office to find that out. I don't know exactly when, but
So yeah,
but the money will
you
be in there.
consider it still funded. It was funded, then defunded. Now it sounds like it's funded again.
And then, was it Miles, did you ask about records preservation paying for the first floor to move the books?
I did.
And the answer was what?
That we're not using it.
The books can be moved with preservation funds, but the spaces cannot be prepared with preservation funds.
These spaces that are
Have
built
we
out to
used
preserve them.
preservation funds in the past for any type of capital items,
Yes.
including, refresh
I think the
my
room
memory?
You're setting in right here.
And the distinction in this room that I'm sitting in today, or any other room that we've used capital preservation funds to improve?
You'll have to ask the district attorney that question.
What's the
The
distinction?
distinction was asking the district attorney's office. I probably wouldn't disagree with that.
Is there,
So it seems to be like the precedent has been set. So the DA's office didn't do anything about it the first time. Are they gonna do something about it the second time?
Was the question asked in writing? Did, yeah, I can't remember yesterday hardly, but what I'm trying to figure out is how we can get moving again. I mean, we have capital projects money we can now go back and start seeing tails on. We've used, as Miles pointed out, and as I was alluding to, we've used capital preservation, records preservation funds to do capital improvements. Did somebody ask?
It's been asked in this meeting multiple times.
But was it,
But not in, no, I don't think anybody sent one of those DAs.
did anybody ask the auditor's office? Did anybody ask the DA's office in writing if it can be done?
Not in writing.
I think I would know the answer, but has anybody looked at what the definition or the statutory uses of those funds are up here?
Not
Have
on-
you?
No, not on this horseshoe. I think Gretchen has researched that.
So perhaps, Stacy, you should look at what the statute says.
I do that a lot, but I'm always misinterpreting.
I look at them too, and sometimes I don't misinterpret them. Fine to come up, Gretchen. Thank you. Sorry. Okay. Well, that's why I asked if there's a written.
Register of Deeds, and then also from UCC. And so there's specific uses they can use those funds for, UCC and the specific register of Deeds. And so I was asked informally by you whether or not those funds could be used to buy the building across the street. And the answer is no.
Right. I remember that.
With regard to moving books, no one has asked me that. This is the first I've heard of it. So I can't answer that off the top of my head because I haven't read it in a long time. But that's my short answer. My safe answer. No, I'm not going to do it standing up. Sorry. No.
What is it? What's the site?
statute? Yeah.
Because I'm looking right now.
Title 2832.
Title 28.
And those are really restricted funds, especially these funds. Oh.
Holy crap.
The UCC funds are broader, and the uses there seem to indicate that you could use it for space, actual space. But those aren't specific.
Related lawful expenditures.
So what you do is you read the entire act as a whole, you look at the UCC uses it for method, you look at the register of deed uses it for the method. Yes, you're right. The UCC statute is not anywhere close physically statute.
Records management. Records preservation, automation, modernization, and related lawful expenditures. the storage of books so that the public can access them, be records management? I'm just asking. I don't.
It might be preservation.
The building.
It could be
space is
modernization.
preserved.
That's what I was thinking,
We are bringing
modernization.
it forward. I mean, it seems to me that we're preserving and modernizing and managing the record.
Off the top of my head, the intent of that statute is really to keep those books in condition. The binding, et cetera, et cetera. Can say it. Thank you.
All right,
Yeah,
so
and that's the proper use. Now, I think you could buy, what do you call it, book racks.
But the space with the,
you can buy books, but you can't. Let's move off this, but I think there needs to be some additional questions asked regarding the use of those funds, because I can build a community center, but I can't build the associated parking, right? I can potentially buy book racks, but I can't improve the space in which the book racks will go. So I think, Stace, we need to ask some more questions specific to what we're needing to do.
So you can have shiny programs, flooding pool, but not fix the building.
So, all right, Gretchen, thanks. We'll get you something. I'm sure you are. I'm looking forward to trying to write some of it, Parkwood. Okay.
You're welcome back.
All right. Got to get back to the agenda. All right. Any other questions or discussion on this?
I'll move to receive Casey's report.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. 7,
There's no changes. There will be when we start getting, into these projects.
okay. 8, the capital improvements list, Stacy. No action on item 7, obviously. Anything?
No.
Any questions of Stacy on 8? Otherwise, no action. 9, I thought we had stricken this, was our item dealing with the transfer, maintenance, and repair of security infrastructure equipment in and around the courthouse, the annex, and ICB. Is there anything? Can we strike this?
Well, Joe,
Because we have an item here on 11 that's specific to the camera. We have 2 dealing with cameras.
that's fine. I was trying to figure out what the court clerk,
Oh. Is Mr. Cannon here?
no, they just took off.
I think it is made up, the security system is made up of many components, and subsequent, like you mentioned, the subsequent agenda item or 2 will discuss specific components.
Okay, let's strike 9 then.
Are you moving that? Joe, I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. 10 is discussion possible action regarding replacement of camera system in the annex building.
David Baisden has solicited hard quotes from Digi Security Systems, and the current price to replace the camera system in the annex is $177,098.
And that's
for the annex.
replacing cameras in their current locations. That's all inclusive cabling,
That's my understanding.
and that's no additional cameras, just
Based on, and he said he couldn't be here today, but would be available by phone if you had any specific questions for him. But that's based on his estimate as a security specialist.
Does anyone know how old is the current system?
You put a VHS or a beta tape in there to record.
I'm just wondering, is Harbor Freight, are they on state contract?
Harbor Freight?
Well, I mean, I'm just thinking about you in your home, you can just do it for hundreds of dollars. I know there's less than 200 cameras here.
Right. So this,
I mean,
So this
we're going to
technology-
actually just replace the cameras in our existing system.
no, this is much more extensive than just replacing a camera. This is much different than going to Amazon and buying a ring. This system will actually allow tracing of an individual from floor to floor, from office to office, from building to building, etc. Because it does facial recognition. And here you go, Keith. It does red dot technology, which means something entirely different to law enforcement. Let's get past that. But we'll be able to trace an individual through a building and know where they're at all times. So if a person walks in with some sort of communicable disease, you can tell who all he's had contact with. But in the same sense as we get the individuals that like to jump and run from courtrooms and try to escape, we can actually follow them through the building, and we can do it in live instead of our delayed system and antiquated, grainy Andy Griffith system that we have currently.
So is the storage on this one cloud-based?
The storage can be cloud-based, but it could also be local. I would imagine that we'll work with IT and do what's best. And I would imagine it's also going to be cloud because it's probably going to be cheaper, and then we're not having to do upgrades and such for storage at a later date.
But it's not specified in this contract, which it is?
No.
Okay.
It does say that all of the primary electrical work is excluded. All of the hangers and boxes from which cameras are to be mounted on is excluded. Patching, painting is excluded, and any asbestos work of any kind is excluded. The contract is, or the quote is good for 30 days. Expires October 31st.
So you showed me 3 different prices and contracts in your office.
We had asked for replacement quotes for the courthouse only, the annex only, Metro 1 and 2, and the Investors Capital Building.
So on item 11, it's the same proposal.
Mhm.
All of that work that you mentioned is excluded.
Yes.
The things that we may have in the PBA meeting that's upcoming will be the same.
Yes.
So
we'll need to provide for electrical work. I can see where that would be the most expensive part of this work that would have to be outsourced. Also, depending on where they locate cameras within the courthouse, on the upper floors where you have expensive plaster and lath work, that can become involved there.
And with this, Baisden and the sheriff have looked at this and they feel that this is sufficient or better than what they have now.
Oh, certainly better than what we have, and sufficient would be my guess. Baisden said this is the way to go, and seemed happy with using this contract. You had some work with them, right? So $177,098.54 plus electrical work, AB work if necessary.
do we have any idea? We don't, right?
No. You know, and my guess is we would go out on contract or ask an electrical contractor that we may have on contract to do this work by the hour with some kind of an estimate in place.
So
To identify,
I was gonna say, when you include the courthouse, you're looking at $500,000.
To identify the locations for both item 10 and 11, where the cameras are gonna go. I thought I heard that some of these are new cameras in locations that we don't already have cameras. Can you get with Mr. Baisden so that we can get an idea of where those locations will be, where you can make a determination on abatement, getting electric there? I for one, don't want to recommend something at over $500,000 when we don't actually have the true cost. We need to get it done, but I don't know.
Well, yeah, I think that would be the way to accomplish this is if we take floor plans, spot the locations, and then go through systematically and determine what issues we're going to have, whether we have power sources there, whether we have AV there. What's going to be most difficult, working in the ceiling of the courthouse over there is the plaster and lath work. I recall when we did the infrastructure upgrade over there in 2011, there was some crown molding, dental work that was damaged on the 7th floor. And we had to bring in plasterers from New Mexico to duplicate that work. That was expensive.
How many existing cameras are we replacing? Do you know?
I'm not sure how many cameras.
No, I don't mean how many are in this bid. How many are we actually do we have existing that we're replacing?
I don't have the answer to that.
Okay, I'm just wondering. And then this
It replaces all of them. Every camera that we currently have is out of date. We'll be replacing every single one.
Does the replacement of the existing cameras necessitate upgrading cabling wires?
I'm sure.
That's a good question.
Okay, so
it's not wireless.
I've already expressed my reservations in doing anything other than receiving this information until we have a more complete picture of the cost as it relates to the annex and the courthouse.
Chantel, are you familiar with this contractor? Okay. They've been around for weeks, years, decades.
Don't know exactly, but I know that they have been a state contract holder for more than 10 years. I may even go as to say maybe 20 years.
Yeah, great.
They've
That's answered my question. Thanks.
no problem.
You know, another thing that we might discuss too is what is the life expectancy of this current system, and then perhaps building into some budget someplace, scheduled replacement if necessary, when necessary.
Well, to that, also the question of the storage, is it on site? Is it in the cloud? Are there annual subscription fees associated with the use of this technology? All of that type of question needs to be answered.
Well, as well as
And
the
I think,
information itself and who owns it and who can have access.
and I think that's probably better explained by David Basin and someone in the security business.
So this is not a wireless system?
No, I don't believe so.
So these, on both 10 and 11, the document was attached. So I don't know that we needed to receive them, but I would like you all to go and get the information that I think we're all eager to have, and it sounds like you are as well, to try to put together a comprehensive picture for us. So with regards to item 10 and 11, I'll make a motion that we instruct staff to proceed as discussed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
On item 10, you might suggest the number out loud so the public can look at this. It is $326,000.
Well,
Your
I didn't-
courthouse video surveillance bid, whatever document that you attach is.
I didn't write these items, so had I written them, they might have said in an amount not to exceed, but since we're not actually making any formal recommendations to the board, I think sufficient, but
But we'll try and act on this quickly. I mean, an October 31st acceptance date is coming up, so. We'll work with David Basin to see if
Well-
we can't get the questions answered.
an October 31st acceptance date without complete accurate picture of the actual cost doesn't do us any good. So if I'm a
just
vendor,
anticipating a price escalation, you know.
they're probably not the only group that does video surveillance that's available on a state or a national contract. If so. Okay. Item 12, discussion, review, and possible action related to the possible use and funding of a county property located at 7401 Northeast 23rd. This is the building that's referred to as Social Services or TGA.
Joe, I had this placed on the agenda. We have a asset, if you will, in front of your current barn, and one that I have spoken to several agencies and individuals that could operate under contract within that building, still serving what we're looking to get done through our social services aspects. One being daily living center, to where we could do some help with not only day treatment for the less fortunate, but also overnight and extended stay type stuff, which would both of these require us doing a capital investment into the building and bringing it up to speed, both roof, HVAC, and some build out costs. One of the other extremely exciting ones is speaking with Carrie Slayton Hodges with the Department of Mental Health Services. Very preliminarily, we spoke at CJAC a week or two ago, and she made the statement that if we could bring the building up to where it needs to be, we could partner together and create a mental health crisis center in eastern Oklahoma County, which would help us, and they would operate. So we've got zero operating cost at that point. We would just be bringing this building online and writing a contract with them, just like similar to juvenile justice or something similar to that, or Department of Wildlife, the way we did with them.
They'd just be leasing the building.
They would just be leasing the building for us for $1 or whatever.
Yep.
But this would allow individuals that are facing coming downtown into a jail, it would put them in a more appropriate place to be receiving treatment or intervention into keeping them out and reducing our population in the jail and getting them the actual help they need, more of a face-to-face mental health intervention. I think that one's very exciting. That one I like because it's the stat I always heard from my wife when she worked at Department of Corrections. It was $52 a day to incarcerate somebody, even more if they're maximum, and it's $14 a day to treat them for mental health. Now, obviously, that's as we look at budgets here, we get tighter and tighter. We do not have a funding source for jail operations or any of that kind of stuff. We need to start making financial decisions to make financial sense, and this would be one of them. So I had this put on there just so I could kind of update you about some of the things. Joe and I kind of passing in the hallway, I mentioned it to him, and he suggested that we do it this way. So
Yeah.
here we are.
So Miles, let me say both of those would be good potential uses. I think, let me jump down. Yeah, the last item, 13, which talks about all of our capital projects that we've got either the board's approved or we're considering or we'll look at some point in time using our ARPA funds. And one of the things that this property potentially affords us is, as of yet, we've approved $4 million and something for Mr. Barnes to have a new building. But he has no location.
Who's got the location?
He has, there's not a location. Anyway,
It's possibilities for this building. I understood that he had a location, and you're saying that Barnes could possibly use this location.
that is right. And rather than us having to rehab the building, the thought was raising the building because there's anywhere from $2 to $3 million that would need to be done, invested into that building. My concern, and I'll get into it more in the next item, is all of these projects that we've approved for ARPA are under tight deadlines. Additionally, and really more the point of item 13, is to talk about having an owner's rep that can oversee bundling these projects together so that we can perhaps get a contractor who will stay and work as opposed to jumping from job to job, make them more attractive. And we don't have the staff to be able to oversee multiple projects to make sure that they're coming in as they were designed, on time and on budget. So I just want to mention, Miles, that Barnes may need a place to go, and that had been a thought of mine. That location. So,
Hey, Miles, who were you talking to about extended stay? Was that the mental health as well, or was it another entity?
No, that was they're
Okay.
so, daily
So not
living-
overnight stay. Not you're not referring to overnight stay.
No, absolutely. She's looking to expand her services and
Oh,
sees
to
that as an
overnight daily living
opportunity
center?
at that spot.
Mhm.
So she would be more of a long-term care,
Right.
until they could get placed inside of a home or something of that sort. That's what she saw in that facility,
Yeah.
because that facility used to be a nursing home. It's set up. I think it's probably set up more for a daily living center than it is for mental health. I don't. My concern with the mental health is the windows and stuff like that. I don't know what I don't know when it comes to a mental health facility of what all would need to be done, and I don't know. I'm going to get with Carrie Slayton Hodges and let her and her individuals come out and look at it and
That's what I was gonna
say,
ask.
well, yeah, that's a great idea, but this facility would just need to be, you'd spend more on it than you would be just to tear it down and do something else, which is my biggest fear on that. But I do see that as an asset, and it's a good asset. Yes, it needs a little bit of money dumped into it to become a great asset, but Eastern Oklahoma County does not have a lot of county presence, as both of you are aware, representing a large share of that, and having a spot like that. Not only, if we put Barnes out there, could we put a court clerk's office out there? Could we put a county clerk's office out there? Could we put a whole satellite office and move some of our services out? We've got one of those in Edmond, court clerk's office, and it works really well. So as our county grows and our population grows, and we try to keep people from coming into this building, we need to start looking at those types of things. So I think there's a lot of things, and that's why it's on here, just to publicly spitball it.
yeah, I think those, as well as a possible location for Barnes, identify the best use, knowing that we have some deadlines we're going to have to meet in order to get some of our projects moving. So, Miles, I'm glad you talked to them about it, both of those groups.
Well, and if there's groups that you guys have talked to or would like to talk to about it, it is an asset that needs it needs an investment. It did not serve the purposes for 5, 6, 7, 8 people in that building. I think it's Pastor Scobie that has.
Pastor Manning.
Is it Pastor Manning? Okay, Pastor Manning has the outreach back behind it, so it's serving his purposes great. That little building works really well for that.
Yep.
So
okay,
and there's some other assets in that barn out there.
I'll make a motion to receive the report. There's no more questions. We can get on to item 13. Does that sound good?
Or item 12, I think.
Yeah, we're on it.
Second. All right, all in favor? Whoops.
Aye.
All right, okay. Item 13 is discussion possible action regarding our ARPA capital projects, including but not limited to project design, anticipated start and completion dates, project big lettings, project award dates, utilization of, and the possible utilization of a construction management firm to oversee and represent the county's best interest. Thank you, Stacy. What have you given us here that we need to receive?
Motion to receive.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The other one is a capital list, different than, have you seen the capital list before? District One had asked for this format. And it's set up, we got ongoing projects at the top with dates and costs and so forth and completion dates. The anticipated projects in the middle are those that's been approved by some board and has mostly been funded. There's a few that still need to be funded, but we got some dates for you in there. And then the other projects are, I put them in an archive category. They've been on the capital list for a long time, but we haven't ever identified funding. They can be moved back into an anticipated list if you want to move them back up with some funding, but just so we didn't lose track of them. And the projects that Joe was really talking about, there's 6 approved ARPA projects in that anticipated category there, about $20 million worth of projects. And there are several different ways we can attack those. And I think maybe the purpose of 13 is just like 12. It's for you guys to start deciding which direction you want to go, how you want to do it.
Of the 6, Stacy, where are we at on, if you'll walk us through on design, do we have architects retained on each of those? Do we have?
Okay, the first one will be the juvenile justice lobby, and it's already designed. We bid it once a year ago. It was a way over cost. We've added money to it, and it's ready to go again. I've already pulled the trigger on using the JOC program at the state, which is what you're doing on the 6th floor. So that one could actually be the first one under construction and be outside of this discussion because that one sets up really well for that program.
And who's going to provide the construction management services on that?
Well, the JOC program is just that. It's, you're hiring a CM to build the project.
I thought you said CM services are part of the 6th floor as well?
Well, they consider themselves a construction management firm, and they're
But they're the contractor
they're
also.
the contractor also.
I want to know who's going to watch the contractor.
Well, my office can do that, or you can, like the Triple X project, we can hire a company to do some inspection.
That's, I think, in our best interest to consider doing that on these projects. You guys are stretched thin with the things that are already ongoing.
Yeah, I don't have any disagreement.
There needs to be, I want to underscore this, there needs to be competent oversight, people who are knowledgeable in the different fields that are being worked in the trades and so on, so that we're not left with residual problems that we're trying to solve with in-house resources. There's going to be so much go on at this particular time in every municipality. We need our own owner's rep.
That's a good discussion, Keith, but the problem with an owner's rep, they don't know anything about the juvenile justice building. It'd take, their learning curve would be years compared to what you already have on your own staff to know where stuff lives over there and how to tie it in.
If that's the case,
So that, I mean, those are the pros and cons of doing the owner's rep or construction management. You got to think about those issues. I agree, we need eyes on the project, maybe some inspections and some documentation. But as far as, the oversight he's talking about that has particular expertise in where the electrical lives, where the mechanical lives, how to tie it in, there's no owner's rep out there that knows what he already knows.
So in that specific interest on the juvenile justice lobby, what would be if we're going to pay for additional help, what's the ideal of additional help to have? Eyes.
I would, right now, without further study, would take that one out of your consideration. Let us go ahead and do it under the JOC program, hire some inspectors, but also have some McKees people out there to, and I know he's stretched thin, but this is just one that we need to probably do ourselves in-house.
I would almost argue that. I'm sorry.
So, we're going to disagree, but
Well, but think about it. What Estabrook has taking place out there, he knows what's down in the weeds. But if you have a construction manager who's there every other day or every day and can say, okay, I see what the contractor is doing. It looks as though we're going to have some electrical oversight necessary. Estabrook is trying to manage that property, but if he's made aware by our representative that we're going to have an electrical bit of work being done that might threaten the building, all of a sudden that communication is helpful in making certain that the contractor who really just wants to get on with the job, get paid, and get out knows what's going to happen should an electrical problem occur. Estabrook and his staff are aware. So a coordinator who's familiar, but relying on Estabrook and his crew to get down into the weeds and know what the resulting problems and issues are going to be should a mishap happen, I think is valuable. Otherwise, you're chasing solutions after something happens.
we agree a coordinator with knowledge would be helpful.
Yeah.
With knowledge is the key thing we disagree.
No, and that's right.
Then, Stacy, what I'm hearing you say is we don't need a construction manager for any of these projects that are in buildings that we currently have, which I think is utterly ridiculous. We are about to spend millions of dollars, and we're going to leave it up to a staff of, I'll say 20 generously, probably, to try to oversee millions of dollars of construction work.
It's just one project, 900,000.
It's just how much?
900.
It's just $900,000.
Right. It's not the whole full 20 million I'm talking.
I understand, but it's just $900,000.
I didn't hear Stacy say that though. I think we might be getting caught up in terminology between construction manager or inspector. How long has the gentleman been out there at the facilities?
Estabrook years.
How long?
Years now.
So not decades.
No.
Okay.
But he knows the building and his staff knows the building. And
Okay.
that's right. The way I would look at this, if you'll let me, your construction manager, if you find a knowledgeable one that you trust and will work for you, is going to be a percentage of that contract. In the event you have some kind of a problem, what are the resulting costs? The possibility of the resulting costs as a result of some mistake made. We've had an electrical shutdown here that we didn't anticipate. We thought we might have some problems and we were prepared. But that coordination comes at a cost. Does that cost exceed any particular failure or mishap? And then what sort of business interruption do you have, particularly in a place like juvenile where you have kids that are incarcerated? HVAC goes down, heat goes down, electricity goes down. And if you can assign a figure, 10%, it's $100,000. Is the resulting trouble and problem worth that sum of money? Just another way to look at it.
I can't help but think that in all of these public projects throughout the state that utilize some type of owner's rep to oversee that they have intimate knowledge of every building in which they're representing the owner. I find that fascinating that that somebody like CMS Willowbrook, for instance, would know everything there is to know about a building at the University of Oklahoma or a building on Oklahoma State's campus or any other, and you using that as some justification as to why that's not needed.
I'm just saying Keith is better construction manager than anybody you can hire for this one project. That's all I'm saying.
Keith's he may very well be, granted, but Keith is one person, and this is not meant as a shot at